Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in John chapter 7, verses 1 through 29. After this, Jesus traveled throughout Galilee. He stayed out of Judea because the Jewish leaders wanted to kill him. Now the Jewish Feast of Tabernacles was near, so Jesus' brothers advised him, "Leave here and go to Judea, so your disciples may see your miracles that you are performing. For no one who seeks to make a reputation for himself does anything in secret. If you are doing these things, show yourself to the world." For not even his own brothers believed in him. So Jesus replied, "My time has not yet arrived, but you are ready at any opportunity. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me, because I am testifying about it, that its deeds are evil. You go up to the feast yourselves. I am not going up to this feast, because my time has not yet fully arrived." When he had said this, he remained in Galilee. But when his brothers had gone up to the feast, then Jesus himself also went up, not openly, but in secret. So the Jewish leaders were looking for him at the feast, asking, "Where is he?" There was a lot of grumbling about him among the crowds. Some were saying, "He's a good man," but others, "He deceives the common people." However, no one spoke openly about him for fear of the Jewish leaders. When the feast was half over, Jesus went up to the temple courts and began to teach. Then the Jewish leaders were astonished and said, "How does this man know so much when he has never had formal instruction?" So Jesus replied, "My teaching is not from me, but from the one who sent me. If anyone wants to do God's will, he will know about my teaching, whether it is from God or whether I speak from my own authority. The person who speaks on his own authority desires to receive honor for himself. The one who desires the honor of the one who sent him is a man of integrity, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Hasn't Moses given you the law? Yet not one of you keeps the law. Why do you want to kill me?" The crowd answered, "You're possessed by a demon. Who is trying to kill you?" Jesus replied, "I performed one miracle, and you are all amazed. However, because Moses gave you the practice of circumcision, not that it came from Moses, but from the forefathers, you circumcise a male child on the Sabbath. But if a male child is circumcised on the Sabbath, so that the law of Moses is not broken, why are you angry with me because I made a man completely well on the Sabbath? Do not judge according to external appearance, but judge with proper judgment." Then some of the residents of Jerusalem began to say, "Isn't this the man they are trying to kill? Yet here he is, speaking publicly, and they are saying nothing to him. Do the rulers really know that this man is the Christ? But we know where this man comes from. Whenever the Christ comes, no one will know where he comes from." Then Jesus, while teaching in the temple courts, cried out, "You both know me and know where I come from, and I have not come on my own initiative, but the one who sent me is true. You do not know him, but I know him, because I have come from him, and he sent me." Yeah, so you have Jesus' brothers deriding him. It's like, "Oh, if you're going to do all this stuff in public, then go do it in public, Jesus." And he says, "I'm not going up to the feast at this time," but then secretly goes up. And then you have the Jewish leaders and everybody kind of looking for him and grumbling about him. But Jesus starts teaching publicly, and everybody's impressed at the teaching that he provides. And he gets into a debate with the Jews there. Let's see what Guzik has to say. He did not want to walk in Judea because the Jews sought to kill him. It was not a lack of courage that made Jesus stay in Galilee, but an awareness of the Father's perfect timing, and it was not time yet for him to be arrested and delivered to the Gentiles. Feast of Tabernacles. This was a joyful week-long celebration in September or October when families camped out in temporary shelters to remember God's faithfulness to Israel in the wilderness, on the way from Egypt to Canaan under Moses. The Hebrews called it the Festival of Booths, Sukkoth, because for the full week that it lasted, people lived in makeshift booths of branches and leaves, from Leviticus 23:40 through 43. Town dwellers erected them in their courtyards or on their flat housetops, from Bruce. His brothers therefore said to him, "Some are surprised to read that the Bible says Jesus had brothers, but this is one plain reference. John already mentioned the brothers of Jesus at John 2:12, and Matthew wrote of the brothers of Jesus at Matthew 12:46 through 47. In Matthew 13:55 through 56, the sisters of Jesus were described. Our blessed Lord, it is true, was her firstborn, while she was yet a virgin, but no man can prove that he was her last. It is an article of faith in the Popish Church to believe in the perpetual virginity of Mary, and in this respect, without any reason, several Protestants seem to be papists," from Clark. "Go into Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you are doing. If you do these things, show yourself to the world." Actually, a small note on the previous bit with Jesus' brothers. James was a brother of Jesus, and here it is that you see that he doesn't believe in Jesus, being one of Jesus' brothers. But later on, he writes the epistle of James, thereby showing a shift from not unbelief to belief. So he, along with Paul, are pieces of evidence indicating that something happened to shift them from unbelief to belief. Jesus' brothers told him to prove himself, the Messiah, on a bigger platform, Jerusalem, the center of Judaism. The people of Jerusalem often looked down on the Jews of Galilee. Since Jesus did most of his miraculous works there, it gave the religious leaders in Jerusalem another reason to say that Jesus wasn't Messiah, because he didn't do most of his work in front of the right audience. It was widely believed that when the Messiah came, he would make himself publicly known in some spectacular way. From Bruce. The Living Bible gives a good sense of this. "You can't be famous when you hide like this. If you're so great, prove it to the world." They imagined his glory to be limited to demonstrations of his miraculous powers, whereas, in reality, it could only be supremely displayed by his crucifixion. His brethren were thinking that his success depended on the world's attitude to him. In other words, they believed in the world rather than in him. From Trench. For even his brothers did not believe in him. Remarkably, the brothers of Jesus never seemed to be supportive of his ministry before his death and resurrection. After his resurrection, the brothers of Jesus were numbered among the disciples. From Acts 1:14, "These all continued with one accord in prayer and supplication with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brethren." This does not mean that they did not believe he wrought miracles, but that they had not submitted to his claim to be Messiah. "My time has not yet come, but your time is always ready." Because Jesus was completely submitted to the will of the Father, the timing of God the Father was important. The brothers of Jesus were not submitted to God's will in the same way, so any time was fine with them. "My time." In this passage, the word is kairos, which characteristically means an opportunity. That is, the best time to do something, the moment when circumstances are most suitable. "The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify of it, that its works are evil." The brothers of Jesus agreed with the common opinions of their day about good and evil. Therefore, the world could not hate them. Jesus boldly confronted the sins of his age, and was therefore the target of much hatred. "The world cannot hate you. There is no danger of you incurring the world's hatred by anything you do or you say, because your wishes and actions are in the world's own spirit." From Dodds. "I am not yet going up to the feast." Some compare this statement with what it says in John 7:10. He also went up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret, as if they caught Jesus in a lie. Schopenhauer, the German philosopher of pessimism, pompously wrote, "Jesus Christ, of set purpose, did utter a falsehood." But Christians have observed for centuries that if Jesus said he would not go publicly as to attract attention, as his brothers wanted, but that did not preclude him from going up privately. When his brothers had gone up, then he also went up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Jesus did not go with his brothers in one of the large processions of travelers from Galilee to Jerusalem at feast time. He went after them, traveling alone, almost as it were in secret. There was much complaining among the people concerning him. They complained because they wanted Jesus to fulfill their wishes for the Messiah and to fulfill them now, when they wanted them. Some said he is good, others said no, on the contrary, he deceives the people. Then, as well as now, Jesus divides people. Those who heard him and knew him couldn't remain neutral. They decided one way or another regarding who Jesus was, either good or a deceiver. However, no one spoke openly of him. The religious leaders did not want people to talk about Jesus at all. The common people feared some penalty of problem from the religious leaders if they were heard speaking openly of Jesus. Jesus went up into the temple and taught. Though Jesus avoided a grand entrance, when he came to Jerusalem in his Father's timing, he taught boldly. He never shrank back from proclaiming the faith. How does this man know letters, having never studied? The Jewish leaders knew that Jesus had not studied or been a disciple under a prominent rabbi, as Paul studied under Gamaliel. Jesus did not follow the normal and expected course of education for a teacher. My doctrine is not mine, but his who sent me. Jesus didn't point to his credentials, but to his doctrine. It was as if he said, I don't have a seminary degree, but judge me by my doctrine. If the Jewish leaders listened carefully to the doctrine of Jesus, they would know that it was all rooted in the Old Testament scriptures, and that it was from God. Our blessed Lord, in the character of Messiah, might as well say, my doctrine is not mine. As an ambassador might say, I speak not my own words, but his who sent me. And he speaks these words to draw the attention of the Jews from the teaching of man to the teaching of God. My doctrine is not mine, but his who sent me. Jesus was an eloquent, gifted teacher, but he was not self-taught. Jesus was God-taught. His authority was not from any man, but from his Father. There is great spiritual principle behind the words, if anyone wills to do his will, he shall know concerning the doctrine. Spiritual understanding is not produced solely by learning facts or procedures, but rather it depends on obedience to known truth. Amen. None of you keeps the law. Jesus just stated that he was absolutely sinless and true, always seeking the glory of God in heaven. In contrast to Jesus, the religious leaders did not keep the law. They had the law. Did not Moses give you the law? But did not keep it. Why do you seek to kill me? In following the thought of Jesus, he said something like this, I am sinless, and none of you keep the law. Why then do you seek to kill me? You are the ones guilty under the law, not I. You have a demon who is seeking to kill you. The people didn't know that the rulers wanted to kill Jesus because he healed a man on the Sabbath. They thought Jesus was crazy and perhaps paranoid. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath, so that the law of Moses should not be broken, it was permitted, even commanded, to do a negative work on the Sabbath, such as cutting away the flesh in circumcision. It was even more right to make a man completely well on the Sabbath, as Jesus did. If you may wound a man on the Sabbath day, may not I heal one from trap? Do not judge. Oh, and Jesus is saying this because previously they were getting on his case for healing a man who was paralyzed on the Sabbath. They decided, do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. They decided that Jesus appeared to be a sinner, and they appeared to be righteous. They were wrong each time, and they needed to judge with righteous judgment instead of only by appearances. We should ever bear in mind that the appearance may be deceitful, and therefore, with the love that hopeth all things, we should be ready to give men the benefit of any doubt or any uncertainty that is in our minds. From Morgan. Is this not he whom they seek to kill? The people from Jerusalem knew that the religious leaders wanted to kill Jesus. The crowd that came for the feast did not know it, but those from Jerusalem did. Yet they were amazed that the rulers would not and could not stop Jesus from teaching. He speaks boldly, and they say nothing to him. Jesus was never afraid of or intimidated by the threats against him. He still spoke boldly, and with such boldness that no one could make him stop. We know where this man is from, but when the Christ comes, no one knows where he is from. Many, but not all of the Jews of that time, believed the Messiah would appear suddenly, as if out of nowhere. Malachi 3:1 says that God's messenger will come suddenly to the temple. This was the kind of saying that made them think the Messiah would come out of nowhere to show himself to Israel. Popular belief held the Messiah would appear. The idea was that he was waiting concealed and someday would burst suddenly upon the world, and no one would know where he had come from Barclay. But we know where this man is from. We don't know if the people thought, this man comes from Bethlehem, or this man comes from Nazareth. They probably associated Jesus with Nazareth. You both know me, and you know where I am from. The first sentence of Jesus' reply may well have been sarcastic. They thought they knew where he was from, but they were unaware of his heavenly origin. This is almost certainly ironical. So you know me and my origin. I am from him, and he sent me. The crowds were perhaps confused about where the Messiah would come from, but Jesus knew exactly where he came from. Jesus was not a confused man, wondering if he was really the Son of God. The language is simple and unambiguous. The claim is august. Jesus asserts afresh his unique relation to the Father, and his hearers cannot miss the implication of his words. Carrying on, Psalm 108, verses 1 through 13. I am determined, O God, I will sing and praise you with my whole heart. Awake, O stringed instrument and harp, I will wake up at dawn. I will give you thanks before the nations. O Lord, I will sing praises to you before foreigners. For your loyal love extends beyond the sky, and your faithfulness reaches the clouds. Rise up above the sky, O God. May your splendor cover the whole earth. Deliver by your power and answer me, so that the ones you love may be safe. God has spoken in his sanctuary. I will triumph. I will parcel out Shechem, the valley of Succoth I will measure off. Gilead belongs to me, as does Manasseh. Ephraim is my helmet. Judah is my royal scepter. Moab is my wash basin. I will make Edom serve me. I will shout in triumph over Philistia. Who will lead me into the fortified city? Who will bring me to Edom? Have you not rejected us, O God? O God, you do not go into battle with our armies. Give us help against the enemy, for any help men might offer is futile. By God's power we will conquer. We will trample down our enemies. So the psalmist rejoices in God and his provision in military might. And finally, Proverbs chapter 15, verse 4. Speech that heals is like a life-giving tree, but a perverse tongue breaks the spirit. So let's aim to heal with our tongues rather than to break the spirit. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day.